Hey everybody! The purpose of this video is to get you some solutions to this little percentages homework. So you got some people that turned in exams fine here, turned them in but were wrong format here, and didn't turn them in at all here. So the first question was how many students represented. That's 10 here, 17 here. That's 27. Plus this 37, that's going to be 64. 64 students altogether. Let's make that red and bold. All right. So that's your total number of students in 105. What percent turned in their exams in the wrong format? Okay, so wrong format would have been the red slice. So that's 17 out of the 64. Okay, so 17 out of the 64. Now, as a percent, you'd have to figure out, okay, what is that out of 100? Okay, now, based on what I remember from class, I think most people enjoy doing this by doing 17 divided by 64 and getting decimal equivalent. That's 16. 17 out of 64, getting a decimal equivalent of about 27 hundredths, and then multiplying that by 100 to call that about 27% or 27%. Okay, so that I think is what people, they like that method the best. How about didn't turn a submission in at all? Okay, didn't turn it in at all. Well, that would be 10 out of 64, which is just about 16%. Let's go back to here, 16%. So that was 10 out of 64, which is just about 16%. And then the last one down here, without doing any ratio proportion work, tell me what percent got their exams turned in an okay format and on time. Well, if 27% turned them in incorrectly formatted and 16 didn't turn them in at all, that means 43 total percent. So you got 27% plus 16% is 43 total percent had a goof. That means the other 57%, which is 100% minus 43%, must be okay. I mean, that whole thing has to add up to 100%. So if this represents 16% and this represents 27%, the rest has to get to 100%. So 43% would do that for us. Would get us to, or excuse me, 57% would get us to that. Take the 16 and the 27 away, which is 43%. 57 gets you the rest of the way. Okay, this one's fun. Usually I hope for no more than 5% wrong format submissions for my assessment at Math 105. How many of the students would have had to submit their exam in the wrong format to satisfy my no more than 5% rule? So what I'm asking for here is, what is 5% of that 64? What is 5% of that 64? And this is one of those things where you need to just think about how, I don't know what your favorite way of doing this is, but a lot of people realize 5% is just 1/20th. So it's 1/20th of 64, which would be the same thing as dividing 64 by 20. And that's going to be just a bit over 3. I'm going to call that approximately 3 students. Just about 3 students. All right. Then I said using the half of 10% shortcut, which we ended up talking about in class today, which was great. So you start with 64. 100% of 64 is 64. Okay. 10% of 64 is 6.4. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. 5% of 64 is half of 10% of 64. So since 10% of 64 is 6.4, half of that is going to be 3.2. Half of 6.4 is 3.2, which rounds to 3. So you get the exact same thing that we did up above, but it's a little more straightforward, a little more logical. About 3 students either way. So either way, you get the exact same answer that we need. Hopefully that helps. We'll catch you in class.